You can like, share, and subscribe now.
Objection, overruled.
Objection, Your Honor!
Oh no!
You know, I was listening to these stories and, some scriptures came to my mind. Proverbs 21:18. The wicked become a ransom for the righteous, and the unfaithful for the upright. Oh, but I'm not even done yet. Psalms 34:21 says, evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteous shall be desolate. Oh, we're taking a trip to the other side. Okay. In the Old Testament, Psalms 140, verse 8 says, Lord, do not let evil people have their way. Do not let their evil schemes succeed, or they will become proud. Psalms 37, verse 7 says, be still in the presence of the Lord, and wait patiently for him to act. Don't worry about evil people who prosper or fret about their wicked schemes. Without further ado, now let's get into it.
I'm going to talk about Spider. Spider was put in one of the craziest positions you can ever be put into as a man, a parent, a woman, period. Spider was doing a life sentence for attempted murder and carjacking. But this wasn't a crime for profit. This was a crime to protect his son and for revenge. And while we were in prison together, I was about 23 years old when I first met him. What he did to a child molester on the inside was something you can never unsee. I do not regret anything I've ever done to child molesters, chomos, rapists on the inside, outside, whatever it may be. And the more I grow older, and as a father, I see how corrupt these judges, DCF, and all these other agencies are. Almost put you in a position to where they make you look crazy for trying to protect your child, and they give you a choice. Either go all the way in and leave your kid without a parent, or allow the abuse to keep happening. Spider, who had just finished doing 15 years. When I met Spider, I was in confinement, and we would just talk, work out, and just discuss philosophy, life, whatever, you know? He was real big into Machiavelli the Prince. He would torture chomos like no other. Reputation for 4 or 5 bodies. I mean, he wasn't a dude that would steal from you or act crazy or none of that shit. He was a dude that was disciplined, would work out, doesn't play games, super respectful. But if you were a rapist or a child molester, he was the one they called to torture them brutally. So as we got to know each other, he explained why he has so much hatred in his heart. He said he had split up with his kid's mother for a few years, and one day his kid started saying stuff that he couldn't really articulate at 3 years old, and he knew it was fucked up. He couldn't understand it, but he knew no 3-year-old should ever be knowing, saying, or seeing whatever he is saying. So he calls up the mother and says, hey, our son's saying all this shit. And she goes, fuck you, motherfucker. I don't give a fuck. And hangs up on him. Take it how you want, motherfucker. Fuck you, all that. He couldn't believe it. But he knew in his heart to heart that maybe she's just tripping. She can't handle the pressure, you know. So he keeps asking his son a little bit here and there, but he doesn't want to pressure his son. Finds out it's the neighbor. He does his research, find out this dude is a piece of shit, child abuser, woman strangler, stalker, all the fucking traits of a real bitch ass motherfucker. So he calls her again, his son's mother, and says, look man, your neighbor, something ain't right. I don't know what he's saying, but it sounds like maybe the dude is gunning or voyeuring. Basically, he thinks that the dude is sniping him, you know, yanking his thing at the kids or her or somebody like that, and the kid saw it and described it in a way that it just didn't make sense. The kid wasn't actually hurt, but the fact that that's even around the kid, it's only a matter of time. She tells him to go fuck himself, take it how you want. So he calls the police, and he says he has no other option. He's not going back to the pen. He's not leaving this kid without a father. Remember, if it can happen to Cain Velasquez, it can happen to anyone. So the police come to his house, and he starts to talk to him, and the first thing the officer says is, "Are you on child support?" He's like, "Nah, man, there's no course involved." He goes, "Oh, you will be." He couldn't understand. Like, we're talking about a child here in the most heated moment, and you're talking about like this some relationship stuff. He didn't understand. So they said they're going to investigate. So before he calls him, he goes to the courthouse to get an injunction, a restraining order to protect his son on behalf of his son. They deny it. In his mind, he's thinking, I should have just murdered this dude right at the courthouse, right on the steps. He asked him why, and he said that the judge said, and I'm reading the paperwork as he's saying it, but I'm looking in his eyes, and it's black, dark, Grim Reaper type motherfucker. And Spider said, the judge just literally looked at me and said, his background doesn't matter. Why are you bringing up his background? Yeah, your kid's testimony is strong, but wasn't strong enough. He couldn't believe it. So he calls the police and tells them, hey man, we got to figure this out. You got a chomo over here. My son's saying more and more stuff. He can't articulate it yet, but we need to protect him. He goes, well, they're doing a DCF investigation tomorrow. They didn't tell you? So they never even told him that his son and the mom are going to a DCF investigation. He finds out where's it at, goes there, and while he's there, he sees his son. His son's so happy to see him. The mother looked like she was trying to sneak it in there with the DCF. Very weird. He's starting to catch on to the corrupt system that, oh, they penalize the good parent. They make the good parent look crazy because they're all about the money, the pedophile shit. They're real sick motherfuckers. But he keeps his composure. You know, he's cool. And as he's talking to his son, the mother or somebody screams, he's coaching the kid. He's coaching the kid. Like, they're making him feel like he's the criminal. From the time he called the cops to the time he comes to support his son, he's always being looked at as a criminal because he's the one trying to stop these chomos. He's thinking, the fuck? Coaching? You know, I'm supposed to be a witness. The mother goes out alone with the child for a cigarette or whatever, goes back in. He's not allowed to be around this shit. So he has it in his mind, man, this ain't what it is. They're not going to protect him from the chomo. They're not going to do anything. DCF, all them. And the biggest thing they're worried about is child support. I was reading more, and you know, this man worked 40 hours a week, had his kid 4 or 5 days out the week, paid for his own shit, you know, was doing good in life. But he said, look, I can't depend on the system anymore. So he went and reached out to his friends that he grew up with. They put a tracker on the chomo's car, caught him in a blind spot. He said, I didn't want to kill him. I didn't get an attempted murder because I was working on my form. That's what he said. He said, read it. So I'm reading more. He said, what I wanted to do was disfigure him so that anytime anybody ever seen him, they would look and say, oh shit, that's what happens when you touch, hurt, or do any weird shit around that man, Spider's son. Because he knew he'd probably go in for a long time. They catch him coming out the car, and he said they just sliced his face, hit him with bats. He said the face looked like a road map. They were going to try to put him back in the car and put a brick on the gas pedal, but cops rolled up on him, arrested them all. He got a life sentence, attempted murder, carjacking. Now, I see that he's about to get transferred for outside court, and he's telling me what happened. He said, look, man, I get a lot of opportunities, let's say, in prison to get these chomos. Some I do by myself. You know, some I hit up, I play razor tag. Some I just strangle, whatever it may be. I don't give a fuck. I'm gone, bro. And I feel like the only thing I can give back to society is taking one out at a time, because I'll be damned if they come out and hurt my child, because the system will never protect our kids. He said that shit with such a cold stare in his eyes. He goes, yeah, they gonna take me to outside court. I'll tell you right now what I did. He said I had got a kite that this rapist, pedophile piece of shit was on the block. The COs told me they were gonna make it happen. He said they offered payment, tobacco, all types of stuff. I said, I'll do it just for free. But, you know, they looked out for food or whatnot. Maybe it was the victims. I don't know who paid him. He never really got into that. He said that they were opening the door And in CM, they'll open the PC, protective custody doors first, and then they'll open the CM, like the troubled inmates, the high management inmates after. Well, accidentally, they open the door of the PC and the CM inmates. Immediately, he beeline to the cell. The chomo started panicking. He just straight blocked him, hit him with a right hook, dropped him, put him in a headlock. He said the dude started tapping him like they were doing MMA. He was laughing and everything when he's telling me. He goes, "This isn't a UFC, motherfucker. There's no tapping." He said, "Those kids you were touching weren't tapping, were they? Did you let them go?" And he was cold, man, real cold dude. He said within 3 to 5 minutes, his close friend came in the cell, had a tattoo gun and some ink. He said, "Listen, I'm going to give you an option. We're either going to cut you up, beat you, kill you in here and drown you in that toilet, or you're going to let us tattoo you whatever we want all over your face." He says, the victims. He starts naming the names. You know what you did. We're going to make it known who you are. We're not just going to slice you and play razor tag. So the chomo's like trying to get his options. He's like, all right. So he gets out the tattoo gun and they just start writing all types of shit all over his face, carving it up, just scratching it up, hitting his eyes, poking his eyes. His eyes were actually the same color of the poison ink that they put in him. So the dude's whole face is just covered with ink and cut and just fucked up. And the dude's like, all right, man. He goes, yeah, all right, man. Turns out that ink had shit and piss, jizz, all types of nasty poison, bleach. And the dude ends up going septic. He looked at me and said, he's in a coma. On my way back to the county where I'm from. We'll see what happens. At least I get a little vacation. He said to me this, I'll never forget. I respect what you do. Every time you carve up one of these chomos, I understand it and I respect it. Don't do like I did and ever trust the system to protect your children when you get out there. Dang. Stay out. Indianapolis County Jail. Martin Cruz, convicted child molester, would be beaten, tortured, hogtied, drowned in a toilet filled with bleach for over 50 minutes. Inmates were jumping off the top of bunks, stomping on his face before he was finally found dead hours later. Hogtied, every rib in his body broken, face unrecognizable. Yet, as I give you guys this update, prior to this killing, turns out he was beaten by 2 other inmates on 2 other occasions, just days before the murder. Let's get into it. Murder inside of the Marion County Jail, the strangulation, the hogtie, the drowning, the bleach. He was only in that unit for 3 hours. The attack took 50 minutes. Martin Cruz, the chomo, who was beaten by at least 10 inmates inside the Marion County Jail for more than an hour, October of last year, when it was over, Cruz was dead. According to court documents, he had also been assaulted at least twice inside the Marion County Jail after other inmates learned he was a child molester. Entering the lion's den, as they call it. Cruz was incarcerated. Understand this piece of shit. He was put in a unit called the lion's den. Martin Cruz was there on 3 counts of child molestation, 1 count of child molesting, 2 counts of harmful materials to minors. He was placed into cell block 2T in September, and at the end of the month, ended up in quarantine for COVID-19 exposure according to the Marion County Sheriff's Office. On October 7th, 2020, just days before Cruz's killing, another inmate in the cell block 2F was attacked. That inmate was also a chomo, being held on molestation cases according to court documents. In that situation, guards were alerted when someone hit an emergency medical button in the block, and guards could hear screaming. When they responded, they found the inmate that was attacked bleeding from his head. There were bruises and swelling around his forehead, and the chomo was missing several front teeth. He was able to tell guards 3 or 4 other inmates had attacked him, according to court documents. As you can see, the chomos are having it hit after hit on them. That brings me to Riley, an 18-year-old who was doing a life sentence for murder. Jalen Ryle, who was only 18 years old when he allegedly shot and killed a 17-year-old Connor Turner inside Penn Station sub shop. Ryle claimed it was self-defense. He was placed in the Marion County Jail, and his trial was set for August 2021. Ryle first encountered the chomo Martin Cruz while Ryle was being housed in the cell block 2T. 2 were only together in the cell block for maybe about 2 weeks when Cruz was attacked. August 8th, 2020, Cruz approached a deputy and said he needed a doctor or a nurse. Cruz had severe bruises on his face and was bleeding from his left ear. As you can see, the victimizer becomes the victim. He's screaming and yelling for medical to help him. Why can't you handle an 18-year-old? You're able to do that to those little children. Yet, him running in fear and being the coward chomo he is will ultimately be his worst mistake, as this is what sent him to the lion's den where he was brutally murdered. On October 10th, when Cruz was moved into a cell block 2F, as in standard procedure after previous attack in 2T, a witness told police it was Ryle who pointed Cruz out as an alleged child molester. In court documents, the witnesses also said Ryle bragged about the previous attack on Cruz. According to court documents, the beating that took Cruz's life, October 10th, was organized and carried out over the course of an hour or so, unchecked by guards. It began when the inmates returned to the bunk room after eating. Inmates used a torn sheet to wrap around their hands as they prepared to attack Cruz. They cover their hands with sheets, one, because they can squeeze something and hit you harder, but it also will stop if they hit teeth or scratches from getting on their hands, as they'll be checked if the murder happens or a violent incident happens, and they will be a suspect if they have open wounds on their fists. The group waited until another inmate was off the phone and they launched their assault. Cruz was literally kicked off his bed, according to a witness. He called for help and then was pulled to the back of the cell by the bars. It was there that the inmates began kicking him and telling him to shut up. The witness told police Cruz was asking for help, and an inmate went and got a towel to try to gag him. The group is said to have told Cruz that if he didn't shut up, they were going to kill him. When another inmate tried to intervene, he was allegedly threatened with a beating as well. Inmates then shoved Cruz's head into a toilet and poured bleach on him. After that, the beating continued. A witness told police the inmates were jumping as high as they could and stomping on Cruz's head. When Cruz would try to crawl or move away, they would drag him right back. Witnesses said Cruz was even hogtied with a bedsheet. Inmates then pulled Cruz back into the middle of the room and held him as they stomped on his genitalia and continued to punch and kick him. The witness then said the group started jumping on Cruz's head and then retrieved the Marion County cup inmates are given, and another inmate got a food tray to beat him with. Another witness told officers that Cruz was hit in the head and the back with the food tray. After an hour or so of the beating, a witness said one of the guards came through on his rounds and did not see Cruz lying in the middle of the floor. When the inmates finally rolled Cruz over, a witness said there was a bile-like fluid coming from his mouth. An inmate checked Cruz's pulse and said, "He's dead." Aftermath. The chomo's body was discovered during a shift change by the guards around 10:15 p.m. In the probable cause affidavit, the guards tried to resuscitate the chomo. They called 911. Cruz was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead at 11:24 p.m. The autopsy performed on Cruz on October 12, 2020 found 18 injuries to his head, including hemorrhaging, a dislocation of his neck. Cruz had 14 injuries to his torso and fractures to 10 of his ribs. He had lacerations to his liver, spleen, pancreas, and kidneys. There was bruising all over his body, and the coroner reported the death as a homicide. An internal investigation is pending. There were at least 24 inmates in the community-style cell block at the time. Many said they witnessed the attack but declined to talk to the police. Of course, I mean, what the fuck? That's what you call they're tired of these people hurting our children. That's what you call sending a message. They hit one chomo up, they hit him up already, sent him to the lion's den where he was brutally tortured for over an hour, wasn't found for another hour, and was pronounced dead an hour later, with an officer walking the tier. 10 inmates beating him, choking him, stabbing him, gagging him, drowning him, everything possible, and the officer just missed it. That's what happens when you fuck with our kids. An update on all the inmates charged. First, Gamron Tedford. This is Gamron Tedford, Lasan Watkins, David Sparks, Jeremy Satterfield, Jalen Kyle, Lance Hatcher, Clayton Hagan, and Kevon Donaldson. Jalen Ryle reached a plea agreement and was sentenced to 25 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections, followed by 2 years of community corrections program deemed appropriate. Lance Hatcher pleaded guilty to aggravated battery as part of a plea agreement. He was given a prison term of 5 years, but was awarded more than 3 years in jail credit toward the term. David Sparks pleaded guilty to battery resulting in serious injury. He was given a prison term of 6 years with 2 suspended on probation. Clayton Hagan He would be sentenced to 4 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections, pleading guilty in battery resulting in serious bodily injury. To break down the timeline, 7/22, Cruz was transferred from COVID-19 quarantine to a general population cell housing approximately 29 inmates. Between 9 and 10:15 p.m., Cruz was subjected to prolonged and violent assault, as I stated before, where he was hogtied, had his head shoved in the toilet, bleach poured on him, stomping his head, where he tried to crawl away and was dragged, where the assault continued, where they kicked his genitalia over and over. At 10:15, third shift jail deputies found Cruz lying face down in the cell with blood under his head. It was then, at 10:15, the third shift jail deputies found the Chomo lying face down, blood under his head, unresponsive, and later pronounced dead. That's the way the universe works. This man here, who hurt over 4 different children, molesting them, torturing them, those kids were probably scared and begging and trying to crawl away themselves. Well, guess what? You entered the lion's den. You were crawling away, screaming for help. You felt that fear that those children felt, except they didn't understand what was going on. They were too innocent. You knew that you're paying for what you did to those children. In jail, prison, imagine an inmate gets the shit beat out of him for having child molestation charges. Then another Chomo comes in there and gets the shit beat out of him. They don't put him in protective custody. They put him in a unit that they nicknamed the Lion's Den. For over an hour and 15 minutes, he's hogtied, gagged, beaten. Every bone in his body, every organ is fucked up, kicked, put his head in a toilet with bleach and chemicals, jumping off top bunks, smashing his face. First officer that does his roundabout just didn't see it. Entered the cell at 7. He was murdered by 10:15. And he wasn't even taken to a hospital till 11:15. All because he wanted to touch kids. This is the reality. I don't promote the violence, but I will say this. Protect your children. Leave our kids alone. Stay out. Stay free. Us.
One last thing before I come back down to earth. The moral of the story is get close to God, because in Leviticus 24:19-20 says, if anyone injures his neighbor, whatever he has done must be done to him. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Just as he has injured the other person, the same must be inflicted on him. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. At Morona Prophecy 597. God bless. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Carefully consider what is right in the eyes of everybody. If it is possible, on your part, live at peace with everyone. Do not avenge yourselves, beloved, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. I will repay, says the Lord.